We got one person in the wait. Say something in the chat so I know who it is. KKD, one neck, KKD. We are going to kick things off. We're going to begin once we get to, I always say 15, and 15's become, I'll 15 for now. But if we hit 15 strong on this one, I'll start kicking the numbers up. So once we get 15 people in here, I'm going to go ahead and start. Today's topic is going to be whether or not Urinani is complicated. I had this really, really good question somebody asked me on Patreon, and it was the latest in a series of questions that I've gotten over maybe the past 2 years. That were kind of in the same vein, that, hey, this is all very complicated. Where does somebody start? This is all very complicated. Where does somebody start? So I'm here to let you know that this is not complicated, and this is where to start, and this is why it is not complicated, and so forth. I want you guys to see my anyanwu. So I don't know if that's gonna work. I need like a standard place I put these things. All right, no anyanwu today, or there maybe. Okay, that works. All right. So we're going to begin once once we're at 15 people. Go ahead and post this on. Okay, I'm posting this on Patreon right now, so the Patreon see. I see your comment there. We are going to begin the talk once we get 15 people. So if you are here, hit like, hit share, copy the link, post it wherever you post it. Invite the people you know who are interested in this topic, who are would maybe benefit from this topic, or who are subscribers of the Medicine Shell or anything like that. Just post it wherever you can post it. Let's get a party going on in here. It's Friday. Watching from Cameroon. Hey, Wanem Kerukide. Kerukide. What part of Cameroon? Thank you, by the way, for coming in. I'm sure it is brutally late over there, too. I know the time cannot be. He said, "I'll do my one day." Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, what part of Cameroon, Dada? My grandfather, he had a business in Cameroon before the war, and he kind of made his name out in Kumba, in Cameroon, a place in Cameroon called Kumba. And then I have an uncle who lived in Cameroon for years. Though I think he's in Benin Republic now, and then I think he's probably getting ready to retire. He's not the youngest guy. Watching from Texas, he said Douala. Okay, cool. It's 2:33. Well, I really appreciate you putting in that dedication. Watching from Texas, Miss Poison for life. You are talking to a Houstonian, being myself, but I'm not in Houston right now. So that's what's up. Certain Cameroonians have similar culture to Igbos. Absolutely. Absolutely. Kumba, yeah, I know. English side. Yeah. He's laughing. I'm sure there's a lot of Nigerians there too, specifically Igbo people. There was a time that going to Cameroon was the hot thing. You go to Cameroon, then that kind of thing. So, which was my grandfather's time anyway. But yeah, yeah. He settled in Kumba for a little bit. I think that was around the time he actually married my grandmother, though she's from the same place. She's from our place. And yeah, they share stories like that all the time. Let's see here. All right, so I'm going to post this on Patreon. I'll see if we can get some of the patrons in here. I feel like these lives hit people by surprise. So today's topic is the complexity of Odinani, right? So I share these videos, and they're very cerebral, and they're very dense, and I understand if somebody's listening, like, how the hell, like, where do you even start, right? It's a lot. It's a lot. I completely understand, right? So I'm going to dispel the myth today that, let me just say African spirituality, right? Just African spirituality as a whole is complicated, or that it's hard to find a place to start, right? And a lot of it deals with knowing how to view it, right? Or looking at it with a lens that's beneficial to you. And we're going to get to all that. So right now we got 7 people in there, and we got, of the 8 people in here, and of these 8, only 2 have hit like. So be calm. I don't know what I did to y'all. If you are in this room and you want to help the channel, the easiest thing you can do is hit like on this right here. So right now it's 8-2. Let's get this to 8-8, right? 3. Okay, somebody checked in. I hope it was my sister from Houston. Okay, 4. Another person checked in. All right, 5. All right. Let's get this thing to 8. Let's get this three. I got 3 people just holding out. 3 people holding out. Okay, number 6. Okay, that's what's up. Somebody joined the winning team. 7. All right, we're about to hit 8. We got 8 people in here. I want to match it with 8 likes. Let's go. One person is holding out. Aha! You say we've done it. We've done it. We've done it. All right, awesome. Somebody just withdrew their vote. No problem, no problem, no problem. All right, so let me see if we're going to begin everything once we get 15 people in here. Right now we're at 7, so we're just going to hang out now. If anybody's got random questions, you want to ask me, things you want to throw out. A couple of you guys let me know where you guys were from. We've got Texas, we've got Cameroon. Let me see where else everybody else is from. Post where you're from. Let me see if I've been to any of these places. Let me see if I know anybody there, so on and so forth. All right, there's the rest of them. Douala, Cameroons have some like, okay, there, Kumba. You wild for that thumbnail. I appreciate the acknowledgement, my man. Okay, there. I'm not going to touch this screen. I got this screen here for a reason. All right, so somebody said I was... Oh, get this out of here. There. Uncle No Vex, and I go like this page now. You got Jamaica in the house. Lecton, so I have an Igbo language school. It's www.kedu.me. Anybody that wants to learn the Igbo language, we have a very, very, very effective program. Like, it blows my mind how far people have come. Like, a lot of our Igbo 2 students don't know, but they speak better Igbo than me, right? And so, but one of our students in Igbo 2 was pointing out how much of the language she's able to pick up because it's like a little piece of it are like things you still say in Jamaica. Like, I think the term she was using that, like, because we were talking about like in the Igbo language, if you add fu at the end of something, it means that it has become that thing to the point of uselessness, right? So if you say one gafu, if you tell somebody to gafu, right, that means like go get lost, right? Go is the key thing, and then do it to the point where it's not even good for you anymore. Go get lost, that kind of thing. So one of the ones we were talking about was bufu, right? Like, oh yeah, bufu, nangane bufu, right? And you say that when like somebody's like big to the point of uselessness, right? And so she starts laughing. She's like, that in Jamaica, they say bufu too, like for like just like fat. It basically means like something being really big or fat and that kind of thing. And so that was a laugh we just had recently. Lecton, I don't know if you know the story, but let me know. Man, I see Jamaica parents from JA, but NY. Unu is another one. Unu is another one. Jamaicans say unu, which means the same thing in Igbo. Yes, 100%. Whole lot of Jamaicans in the house, man. That's what's up. I missed a few on my Jamaican rant. Watching from Texas. I already got Miss Poison for life. That's my Texas sister right there. Arizona, B to infinity. My youngest brother was going to move to Arizona, both of them, and I didn't know why. Like, I didn't get it. I'm thinking because it's legal to smoke marijuana over there. But one ended up doing a nearby state, and the other one ended up doing Texas. So they were both looking at Arizona. I don't know. And then my neighbor also just recently moved to Phoenix. So you guys got something going on that I'm not aware of. Abuja, wow, Chi, I appreciate you being in here. I know the time is nothing nice over there. I know it is very late. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Chi, I'm here. The news I'm hearing from Abuja is rough. Oh, I hope you're safe. I hope you're okay. I'm sure you're safe and okay, though. Atlanta. I had no Atlanta stories, but Atlanta's got more stories than Atlanta doesn't need me to tell stories for it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I didn't know that one. Love to find out connections. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So like with Kedu, like again, we'll be learning these different words, and she'll be like, oh, we say this and this and that. Oh, that over here, that kind of thing. Like it happens. It happens. I don't want to say all the time, but it's happened at least more than once, right? And I love hearing things like that. And I'm sure that if we had I don't know, more Jamaican people in the classes. They would pick up more, that kind of thing. So that is awesome. Watching from Thailand. Wow. He said Nigeria. So it must be very, very, very late or early, however you consider it. Why you did go now, people? People are leaving. I know. It's because I'm talking too much. I'm not getting to the point. So we are going to kick this off once we hit 15. I'm going to be discussing the complexity of Igbo spirituality, right? For those of you who've watched my videos, they're obviously very complicated. It takes it's no easy task to understand what I'm saying, right? And even in my last video, I was telling a story about how I was being taught these things, and like most of it didn't even click until like days later, and afterwards, like my brain, like I felt like my brain had been cooked, right? And then finally, things started coming together piece by piece by piece. So trust me, I know that it can be complicated. There's a school in Jamaica called Calabar. Wow, 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 wow. Almost 9 a.m. on Saturday. Okay, so all right. Well, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Yeah, Jamaica school named Calabar High School, I believe. Wow, it's rough, but inside the city is safe. Okay, cool. Just the outskirts is sketchy. I can imagine. I can imagine. Because I hope you have a good exit plan. Or election season is coming. I'm laughing now, but I kind of mean it. So I'm sure you guys have things figured out. I'm sure you're gonna be okay. Nothing's gonna happen. Let me not spook anybody out. Let me see if I can get this on Patreon and see if we can get some more people in the party. We are going at 15. Once we hit 15 people, we're gonna get started. So once we get to 15 people, we're gonna get started. I feel like a lot of people will come in, they'll see that we haven't hit that number, and then they'll leave and wait till that number hits, which is messed up because them leaving then makes it harder to hit the number. But I've noticed that once I start talking, all of a sudden it turns into 20, so it's whatever. But we will go ahead and begin when we begin. It's nothing's chasing us because why can't I find a live? Let me do this. Accounts. It says it's rough in the city. Peter will be okay. Emeka, Odeka, it's like I'm guessing you're obedient. Right? Man, I'm guessing you're obedient. Those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about, I think Emeka will know what I'm saying. So let me not repeat myself there. All right, let me get this on Patreon, see if we can get more people in the party. Patreon. Don't mind me just sitting here typing while I'm supposed to be doing something important on live. Yes, I caught a live. He said, Gem TS, what's going on? Gem, if you had two things, now that you're here, one, hit the like button. Two, what was it? We're beginning once we hit 15. So if you can share this anywhere, once we have 15 people in here. So if you can share this anywhere, let people know that we're here. One day is going to help us out a lot. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to post it on Patreon, see if that helps a little bit. And let's get the titled men and women of Patreon in here. Video. Let me see here. There. Today's topic is going to be the complexity of Odinani Ndibo. Is Odinani Ndibo a complicated thing that is difficult to get into, or is it a simple thing that is easy to get into, right? I'm going to explain how that all works. Anybody that's watched my videos would probably see that there is a level of complexity there, and I'm saying that very lightly. We are live discussing the complexity of Odinani. Is it complicated? All right, we are live. Join us at this link. Oh wait, no, I need to say Umu Alana Igwe. These are titled people. You can't just start talking to them anyhow. So these are dignitaries, as Nigerians say. Elites. All right, patrons, there we go. Okay, so once we hit 15, I'm going to go ahead and get started. The topic is the complexity of, I'm going to use Odinani, of course, but just African spirituality in general. The feedback, oftentimes, I get a lot of questions asking, like, or more or less saying that, hey, this is really complicated. Where does somebody begin? Oh, wow, we're at 12. So all it took was me ignoring that I was live for this thing to shoot back up. Okay, so we're at 10. So once we hit 15, we're going to go ahead and get started. But I get a lot of comments on the complexity of everything I share and discuss. How it can even be overwhelming. I've heard the term overwhelming. And so I want to share something that is going to be very beneficial if that is what you're thinking. And even if it's not what you're thinking, a lot of you guys, the thing I'm about to say, you guys already know. Like a lot of you guys already know it. A lot of you guys, and the thing I'm about to say, you guys already know. There we go. You guys already know it. And so it is a matter of there. So you guys already know it. So it is a matter of maybe me saying something you already know and maybe giving you the words so you can express it when you need to express it. Sounds like my question will be answered in the stream. Never mind. Okay, cool. I appreciate you waiting on that. I see somebody's from Cameroon. What is Cameroonian jollof rice like? If all comes back to 15, we no go. If all comes back at 15, we don't go reach 15. Yes, it's a complicated world, man. Where are we at? Where are we at? Hold on 1 minute. Okay, cool. All right, so let me do this. What kind of question is that? Yes, there's always a jollof rice question here, so it's all good. So while we're waiting, hey, he said we hit 15. Whoever just came in now, you just made this happen. You know, whoever just came in now, if you want to step up to the front and let us know who saved us, that is fine. We were not going to start till we hit 15. Somebody came in. We are now at 16 with 16 likes. You guys are elite. You guys are doing this. You guys are sharp. So, all right, let us go ahead and give me just 1 second. We're going to go ahead and begin. Today's topic is, here's what I get for going live in a dark room. Trying to be atmospheric and scenic for y'all. So here it is. I found it. All right. So we are going to discuss the complexity of Odinani. Everybody wants to know where to start. And so sometimes you'll watch my videos and maybe you're jumping in the middle. My videos have kind of been a series, right? So if you go to the very beginning, it's kind of a good intro to like what I'm talking about. But if you're jumping in the middle, it could be like, whoa, what's going on over here, right? And by the middle, I mean like maybe you just seen like a video recently that I posted recently, and that's your first video watching. So it can seem complicated. So I'm going to break down why it is not complicated and where to start and how to put everything together. Okay. So that being said, whoever came in when I said the 16 thing, hold on. Eat better than Nigerian jollof. Hey, a war's about to start. Hey, quick question before we start. Do you know why in the language we repeat words? Ngwangwa, also, blah, blah. I think it's a feature of the Kwa language family. It's just a feature that they have. A lot of Igbo words. Igbo is a language you have to feel, right? As we're doing Kedu, it's becoming obvious that Igbo is a language you have to feel. And by that, I mean a lot of words are a word and then you bend it and twist it to change the way the word feels. So, ngwangwa, if I tell you ngwa, which is hurry up, and I say ngwangwa, I say it twice, then what does that feel like? Then that's what it means, right? That kind of thing. Sometimes when you write down the meaning, it doesn't make as much sense as the feel, right? Like the like gafu, right? You're not gonna say gafu, guy. You're gonna want to gafu, that kind of thing. You're gonna add spice to it, so the word feels like what you're saying. So feeling is a big part of it, and oftentimes those repetitions are just one of the many ways you can make a word feel different. So ngwa, hurry up, or like ngwa is like, yeah, hurry up, and then ngwa, then we're talking about hurry up, that kind of thing. So it's a Kwa language feature. It's in Akan, the Akan languages, Ewe, Yoruba, Bini, all the languages that are in the same family, they all have that feature. I think the Bantu languages have that feature too. I think the Bantu languages have that feature too. So let me go ahead and begin. We're going to kick this off. I am presenting you guys with Oji. Now, any events in Igbo culture, any gathering of people, and by gathering of people, this also means you and your ancestors, right? Anytime you're about to have a discussion, a deliberation, or you have guests, visitors, anything like that, you're going to begin things by breaking Oji, right? So right now, I have this one here is the bitter cola, right? I got 2 of them. And then I have nzu. Now this nzu is a stone, but it's an edible stone. You can eat it. And it is used to represent purity. So oftentimes you'll see in like different African cultural things, you'll see like a white clay applied on people's faces, on their hands, on their bodies, so on and so forth. This represents purity. The presence of Nzu represents purity. Nzu is one of the manifestations of Miri or Nemiri or Shimiri, whatever you want to call her, right? And in this being one of her manifestations, it carries the nature and attributes of her and the nature and attributes of water. So it is cleansing. So sometimes, like I posted a short with me and my son. He wanted to join me when I was greeting the ancestors. And so I was using Nzu, and I crushed it up, and I would say one of my ancestors' name, like Naejike Twanzu. Naimenaha Twanzu, and I'll throw the powder. And of course he saw it was fun, so he wanted to join too. So we were going through that together. It's like a cleansing thing. It's a blessing. You give somebody Nzu, you've given them a blessing, right? That kind of thing. So that being said, let us go ahead and begin. This is how all events begin as far as the culture goes. And this is something that we in our generation need to get back to doing, right? But we always want to say our parents this, our parents that, but you'll go to somebody's house and you know OG, know nothing, and they'll be feeling awkward about bringing it out, which is ridiculous, right? That kind of thing. And then, if you don't feel awkward offering somebody coffee, you should not feel awkward offering OG. That being said, let me go ahead and begin. Okike keruwa, alawala, ala nemado nene mmụọ. Ala na-enye ndụ, ala na-enye ihe ọma n'ụwa. Ọjị abịala. Eji m ọjị nke na-ekelekwe anyanwụ ụtụtụ na ọnwa abalị, nke na-enye ije, nke na-enye ihe ọma, nke na-enye ndụ. Eji m ọjị ike na-ekele unu. Nnọọ ka nna ụfụrụ m bụ nnọọ ka m dị. Aka m dị ọcha, obi m dị ọcha, uche m dị ọcha. Ịdị m ọcha na mmadụ na mmụọ. Ụkwụ m dị ọcha, mana ana m aga n'ije Chineke kere ka m gaa n'ụwa. Eji m ọjị ike na-ekelekwe ndị iche anyị niile, ma ndị eke. Eji m ọjị na-ekele gị ndị orie. Eji m ọjị na-ekele gị ndị afọ. Eji m ọjị na-ekele gị ndị nkwọ. Eji m ọjị na-ekele gị, na-ekelekwe ndị mbụ na ndị egede, ndị mmadụ na ndị mmụọ. Mmụọ na-esoro anyị na mmụọ na-edume anyị. Mmụọ ọma na mmụọ ọjọọ, unu niile ebutara m ọjị ikelekwe unu, mana onye ọbụla butara ọjị butara ndụ, na ọ ga-adị nnọọ na eke na orie na afọ na nkwọ. Ise. Then you do the breaking, right? So I just broke the shell. I'm not going to cut it open because I'm in an OG-less part of the country. I'm not going to be cutting mine up and down. The minute you cut a bitter cola and you don't eat it, it turns to stone. Like it turns very hard, that kind of thing. So, but bitter cola, this here, I'm going to give you guys some medicine tricks, right? So this bitter cola, if you, no, that one will be kind of bugged out to talk about. It's a good substitute to coffee. It gives you energy. It lightens you up, that kind of thing. And there's no crash. There's no crash. It just saps all the moisture out of your mouth. It's very, but once, as Mwafo, as somebody, as a son of the soil or a daughter of the soil, you'll come to appreciate that effect. Okay. So that being said, let us go ahead and begin. Oh yeah, also another thing, when you're breaking Aji, it is the eldest man in the room that is going to do the Aji breaking, right? So traditionally, what I would do is I would present it in the front, and whoever that person is will nod and give me the permission to do what is there, what belongs to them, right? What they have the all fault to do, that type of thing. So when it comes to Odinani Ndibo, we do not play around with jurisdiction. We do not play around with what people have the right to do. If it is your place to do something, it's not going to happen. One of the stories that always stuck out to me is that I went to my town meeting in Texas. Igbo people are basically nomadic. They go all over the place, right? And they form these unions of the same people from the same town, where they raise money, they build things back home. They raise money for like funerals, when people have children, that kind of thing, kind of like a collective economic and social network kind of thing, right? So I went to mine, and there was this guy there, and he was, he was a very sharp guy. He was a lawyer, so on and so forth. And his wife was from our village, but he was from a neighboring village. And once the elders found out that he wasn't from our village, they got on the phone, and this was like 11 p.m. at night. They got on the phone and they called one of the elders from where he was from. And it's like a stone's throw away. So anybody that knows geography, I'm from Awo Mama. He's from a place called Ameri. It's just across it's just like Texas and Louisiana. It's just right there, right next to each other. They got on the phone, they called and say, hey, one of your members are here. We want you guys to know we're not trying to steal him. That kind of thing. We're letting you guys know he's here just out of respect. The guy said it's okay, that's fine, we appreciate that. So we don't play around with like jurisdiction, that kind of thing at all. Which is funny, because those of you from home will now, like, you hear these stories where like a pastor or a Catholic priest or something from one place will try to become like or will be appointed to be the leader of the ones in another area, and then there's a big uprising, and then the next thing happens, Igbo people aren't united, which isn't true, right? That's the rule of the unity. You don't do that. You don't step over people's boundaries and things like that. And when you understand that, things like the 4 market days, things like how things are structured in society just make a lot more sense. That being said, today's topic is the complexity of Odinani Ndibo. So I get a lot of comments saying that Odinani Ndibo is complicated, because I make these videos and they're very dense and they're very cerebral, and that's how I'm going to make them. That's how I like making them, so on and so forth. So it gives the impression, and I feared this too, that you have to know all of these things just to begin, right? You got to memorize all the Abara, and then all the more. Like, people ask me how many Abara are there. There's an infinite number, right? And if you've watched enough of my videos, you'll know why there's an infinite number. There's an infinite number of them. That kind of thing, if you want to look at it that way. It's like asking me how many drops of water are there in the world, or how many hydrogen molecules are there in the universe, that kind of thing. It's just go ahead and assume it's infinite, that kind of thing. And so forth. And so people, it's difficult, just memorizing all these things, trying to figure this out, and so on and so forth, and all that, right? And today's talk is going to be very simple, because again, the topic is very simple, and I'm hoping I can communicate the simplicity of the whole thing, right? African spirituality, right? Not just Odinani, but I'll use Odinani as the case study for this one. Odinani is very, very simple, right? It's very simple. One of the things that lends to it feeling complex is the fact that when you're used to seeing organized religion, right? There's a structure. You can step in one place and the conveyor belts will just start moving you where you need to move, right? That kind of thing. And while there is organization in Odinani, there's most definitely organization in Odinani. When it comes to spirituality, right? When it comes to just spirituality, right? Spirituality is a science. Odinani is a science. Most specifically Odinani, because there are some spiritual traditions that are faith-based. Odinani is not faith-based, not based on belief, okay? And I'll explain that in a minute. So it is simple. If you want to understand Odinani, or like let's say you're just coming in and you don't know where to start, the very first thing I tell everybody to do, learn the name of your ancestors, right? The second thing, begin communicating with your chi. Okay? And that's it. Name of your ancestors, communicating with your chi. That's it. That is 100% it. That is it. That's the beginning and the end of it. You understand? Which is very funny because at home, there's this impression that the tradition has died out, right? And yes, you understand, it is in danger. It is 100% in danger. But one of the reasons that rhetoric or that line of talking exists is because people expect it to a situation where everybody's like a debia, right? Like everybody's a debia. And so if everybody's not a debia, then clearly this thing has died out, right? That kind of thing. But this Iwa Aji that I did, this Aji breaking, if you've seen your father do this, then you have nothing to worry about, right? Because what I just did is the total summation of everything. It's the total summation of everything, okay? So let me go ahead and explain myself with knowing your ancestors and communicating with your chi, right? Anything pertaining to spirituality, right, is the quest to understand yourself, the quest to know yourself. And your chi is yourself beyond yourself. It is the self that created you, right? If you want to look at it that way, it is your creator. Anything you're going to learn about yourself, you're going to learn it from your chi first. Not from a debia, not from a reading, not from my videos, right? It's going to come from your chi first. And opening that line of communication, opening that particular line of communication where you're giving to your chi and your chi is giving back to you, and all of a sudden you guys are back in alignment, right? That's the beginning and ending of it. Everything else is an ingredient or a tool to help towards that goal or to help towards actualizing that lifestyle. So the reason it is not, it's like this. If you, or let me say something first before I go to the example. Everybody's chi created them unique in the world, right? Your chi created you to actualize a very specific reality that only you know. Only reason you know it is because you are the physical actualization of your chi. So let's say only your chi knows, but really only you know. And I hope by the end of this, you'll see that there's no difference, right? There's a very specific purpose, reason that you exist. There's a very specific truth. Let me say it that way. There's a specific truth that you live to actualize, right? Sometimes when I say purpose, it's like, oh, I'm supposed to like get this specific job or do this specific thing, but kinda. That's a part of it. There's more to it. There's more to it. The place you live, the way you live, the things you achieve in life, the effect you have on the people around you, the effect you have on yourself, all these different things. There are certain truths, right? There's something that you'll get involved in and you'll be like, this isn't me. This doesn't feel right, right? That's your chi saying, get out of there. That's not what we sent you to do. Come over here. Come back. That kind of thing, right? So there's a specific truth that you exist to actualize. And it is between you and your chi. You two are the only ones that know this, right? There's an ilu that says that, because a lot of people, what they'll do is, and I want to make not a video, probably a live about this, I will see, where, a lot of people will message me, and there's nothing wrong with this. Continue messaging. I love it. Continue messaging. My chi, I can't tell you exactly what my chi created me to do, but this is related. This is related. So when you guys send me questions, I feel resonance. I light up. It feels good, right? And I know that, okay, we're moving in the right direction. Because that's one of the ways you can listen to your chi is through resonance, that kind of thing. So keep sending the questions, right? But one of the questions I often get is, hey, I just watched one of your videos. How can I get a reading, right? Which is like, jumping way to, if you've just seen one, or maybe this is new, maybe a reading isn't the thing you need to do right now, right? There's a saying that says anything, or I'll say it in English, but whatever you ask a debia, the debia will ask your chi. Whatever you ask Afa is divination, The divination will ask your chi. So you would be best advantaged just going ahead and asking your chi. Just go ahead and asking your chi. And every single thing else you do in Odinani is related to that. Now, I was talking about that specific purpose you're brought into. Let me use the analogy of cooking, right? Let me bring the analogy of cooking, like or making a cup of coffee, right? Me and my wife just had fancy coffee, and by fancy coffee it means me putting a bunch of ingredients together to make the coffee Starbucks-ish, right? Because it's Friday, we want to relax, that kind of thing, right? So if I were to make coffee, right, all I need to know is, let's say it's instant coffee, right? All I know is put the little instant coffee in the thing, put water, warm it, stir, you're good. That's it, right? But now, let's say I have guests and I want to make mochas, right? Now I'm throwing in a little of the mocha stuff, right? I might sprinkle chocolate in there, right? And then if whatever I want to do with that coffee, there's an infinite amount of ingredients in the universe I can put in there. So in my channel, I'm describing all of these different ingredients. But you don't need to know every single edible thing or every single thing that can be put in a cup of coffee in order for you to make and enjoy a cup of coffee. The process is actually very simple, right? The root process is simple. Everything you'll need in that process is simple. Everything else is extra. Everything else is extra. You understand? So another analogy, right, that I've used oftentimes is you guys are actually learning how a car works. But if you want to drive, the process is more simple than learning how a radiator relates to coolant and so on and so on and so forth. You guys are getting some of you guys are already devious, you know. Some of you guys are already full-blown devious, you understand? And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But don't think that it's 100% necessary. You're doing it, I hope, because you enjoy it and it makes you happy and you have fun learning these things. It's an enjoyable thing. And then you learn a new thing, and like the coffee, you can throw in a new ingredient in your life. Oh, interesting. I didn't know you could put in vanilla chocolate chips. Okay, Derek just made a video about vanilla chocolate chips. Let's sprinkle that in there. Okay, wow, it tastes better. That kind of thing. I like it. You know what I mean? But you don't need to know all these things to make a cup of coffee. It's very simple, right? Udinani is connecting with your chi, knowing your ancestors. And all of those things go back to knowing yourself. Knowing yourself. And the reason earlier in the live I said African is because just about any African tradition that looks like this, I'll say like that looks like this, right? It's on a personal level, it's the quest for self-truth, right? Truth, self-truth. Now, in the African situation or the African situation, the culture, self doesn't begin and end with me. This is not me, right? One of my organs, right, is two of them. My daughter and my son who are in the other room. You understand? We're the same person. We're the same person, right? And the people that came before me were the same person as well. So that can, including my mother and father. I said in one of the chats that y'all can't keep bypassing your parents and going to your ancestors, and everybody wanted to have my head. So if anybody wants to discuss that as well, you know, throw a question of that vein and I'll discuss that with you. But in understanding yourself, the family is we're all part of the same organism. We're all the same thing, if you want to see it that way. I am not a whole book. I am a page in a book. And in order for you to understand what's happening in that page, you have to go to the furthest page forward you can see, or like the first page, it's called first page. And then you need to go to the end, and then you'll know the entire story. But just the single page is not going to tell you everything. So in the quest of knowing yourself, as you come to learn your ancestors and their names and begin communicating, like connecting back with them, right? You'll begin to learn yourself. And that's all it is. Anything else I put in my video is an ingredient that can help you, or a tool that can maybe help that or broaden your understanding of how these people, this specific culture, actualize that knowledge of self, knowing of self. But there are many ways to go about it. And your chi is going to put you in the one that it makes sense to you, right? So sometimes like your chi will say, hey, you need to go to the Mormon church. That's how you're going to learn about who you are. And that doesn't differ from Odinani. That doesn't differ from Odinani. A good Dibia, a good anything like that would have no problem telling you, hey, I see the Nafa that you're supposed to go be a Hindu guru. And that's how you're going to actualize yourself. That's what your chi says you're supposed to do. You understand? So that's why it becomes a situation where, I'll say that Odinani is not a religion, and people will be like, okay, yeah, sure, but it's not. It's not. Odinani often tells people to go to different religions, that kind of thing, or tells you, okay, this is the one you need to do, that type of thing, right? That type of thing. And anyways, I won't get into that. But again, it's the truth of you is between you and your chi. The world is a person and their chi, right? And Odinani is the understanding or the connection, the one-to-one connection with you and your chi, or trying to achieve that. It's not something you can just say, okay, I'm going to do it, and you're going to do it. It takes an entire lifetime, right? It takes an entire lifetime, which is why elders and ancestors are important, right? Now, again, the next part, I said it's a 2-step thing. Communicate with your chi, know your ancestors, right? So let's focus on the knowing your ancestors part. You understand? Knowing your ancestors part. Again, you are a page in a book. You are not an entire book. I think the Western structure of like understanding of the self is that each person is a book. Each person ends where they end. I remember I had this, I grew up in America and a little bit in the village too. And so I had these little, like when I moved back to America, I would have these little culture shock moments. And they were usually realizing that my mentality about things was different from a lot of the people around me, except my Asian friends. We'd kind of see things eye to eye a lot of times, and so forth. But that's a whole different thing. But my Western friends, which was at literally everybody, the way we'd see things would be very different, right? So like something would happen, like somebody would make a decision out of like anger, right? And that decision maybe caused a lot of damage. And my thought would be like, damn, I'm sure their mom is going to be like very sad about that. And when I was young, like people would tell me like sad things that happened to them, like, oh, that's so unfortunate. How's your family feeling about that? And they'd be like, the fuck. I'm the one going through it. Who are they? That kind of thing. Not that they don't matter, but like, that's not how you talk here. That kind of thing. That's not how you talk here. That's not how you reason. So the mentality is different. Right? If you're talking anything concerning Africa, the family and the person are one thing. You're not a single unit, right? We are all one continuous thing, right? Just the way this part of my hand and this part of my head are all part of the same me. You understand? That's how we see family. So in understanding yourself or aligning with yourself, it is alignment with family, right? Alignment with family. It's not, this is me and this is them. You understand? It's we are one. We are one. And then again, the Western mentality is one is like, we don't argue and we make each other feel good. And once we stop making each other feel good, the shit's over, right? No, we're going to piss each other off until death, but so be it. There's this phenomenal document I have in my library. By the way, if you're not a part of the Patreon, join at www.patreon.com. So all of my patrons have access to my library, and it has like hundreds of books and articles and things like that. There's this phenomenal document. If you're a patron, ask me on Patreon for the link. I'll send it to you. And it breaks it down perfectly. There was this guy, the guy writing the article said that he saw a small African child carrying his younger sister on his back. And the kid had to have been maybe 4 or 5 years old, and the child was just about the same size. And the kid was hunched over carrying this child and sweating and things like that. And he asked the child, isn't she heavy? Right? Isn't that heavy? And the kid said, no, she can't be heavy. She's my sister. See? No, she can't be heavy. She's my sister, right? This is the pain that comes from me carrying her is not real. That's not pain. You understand? This is what it's supposed to be. This is my sister. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? So all of you guys that were at my neck talking about, trying to talk to my dad, woo woo. I'm not saying go like anybody, right? But you can't reject family and know your ancestors. You can't reject your ancestors and know yourself, right? Malcolm X, tree without roots, will fall for anything, that kind of thing. Probably the most African quotes that's been floating around in the American cultural space in the past 100 years. You understand, right? Let's get into the Odinani is not a religion thing eventually. Awesome, awesome. Okay, I want to get some Ubeds. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Wow, this can be something that can be something that gives or takes. Wonderful. You can't reject some of your ancestors, especially if they weren't, and you can't. Oh, okay. Okay, let me go back to the beginning. I missed a whole lot of quotes or a lot of questions. All right, I hope I don't accidentally shut this shit off too. Quick question for, okay, we already got that one. We don't reach. Okay, New York. Y'all, if y'all got questions, throw them at me. This is an interlude. Uh, Somebody asked me a political question. I'm gonna guess what it's about because we're all roughly in the same age group and we're stuck on a few topics right now. It's all good. But we'll see. Hold on. Question. Oh, it's a different one. Norma. Sorry if the question is a bit political. What is the Odinani view on abortion? I actually had a discussion with somebody about this. And if you have made the decision to have an abortion, you it's advisable that you speak to the child. This is going to sound rough. You speak to the child and ask them for acceptance and forgiveness, because the way it is seen in the ancestral view is that God doesn't make mistakes, right? Chukwu doesn't make mistakes. The universe doesn't make mistakes. Chineke doesn't make mistakes. So if the pregnancy, cause of pregnancy, whatever, was less than desirable, it would have still ancestrally in the past, it would have still been seen as a blessing and so forth. But it doesn't mean that your ancestors did not have abortions. There are many medicines that induce abortion in in African sciences, things like that. Right? So that thing existed. It existed. It was a part of the situation. It was real. A lot of people who were enslaved and brought over here would use these same medicines to deliberately have abortions because they didn't want to bring children into that situation, right? So it's an unbelievably complicated situation, right? But anything you're going to do, you have to make sure that everything, this is an example of what I'm talking about. Everything you're going to do, you have to make sure that all parties involved are aware of the decision you're going to make, right? So, again, and this is going to be tough. I don't want to be, it's like I reserve like high emotions for my family. Anybody who's going to come here with it start emoting, like they have fun with that. I don't care. But what was I going to say? So like when you're making a decision, everybody, you have to just let everybody know. So when you go to your altar, right? Let's say you have an altar. Your altar is a representation of everything that makes you. Right? Your altar is you're creating a you. Honestly, that's what you're representing, is yourself, right? Your ancestors, all that stuff, right? And so when I'm going to take on a big journey, right? Whether or not they approve, I'm going to let them know this is what I'm going to do. If you don't want me to do it, show me a sign. If you're okay, clear the way, that kind of thing, so on and so forth. If you have a difficult situation, like for example, in Igbo, in Odinani, it's a taboo to kill, no matter what the circumstances, even in war. You can't kill in war. You're not allowed to kill, like not allowed, but it's a taboo to kill, right? So if you go to war and let's say you kill the enemy, you would take that enemy's head, right? And return. I don't know if you guys have seen the Abariba dance where they have the heads on the rack and they dance and the heads swivel and that kind of thing. They're fake heads now, but I don't think they were in the past, right? So what you do is you take it to an altar, right? And you would speak to the person you killed. And you'd say, we went into the war. Actually, I think typically a DBA will do this for you. We went into the war to do what warriors do. This is the exact phrasing that I learned. Not exact, but just the gist of it. We went into war to do what warriors do. In the process of doing that, this man killed you, right? I would like you to understand, I want you to understand this man because he was doing what he had to do. And as he understands, you are doing what you have to do. Don't haunt this man. Don't come against this man. Don't get in this man's way. Don't fight this man because you two were doing what warriors are supposed to do. And then you would call on an abara with some strength to it, right? Like it went to, and you'd say, make sure that this man does not harm in this man in spirit does not harm this man in madu, this person in reality, right? So when things happen and they're not kosher, they're not whatever, you can still make the situation right because things happen, right? Things happen, decisions have to be made, it's whatever. So when those decisions are made, let the child know this is what happened, this is the situation I was in, this is why I made that decision, just out of respect, the spirit of that child, out of respect. One of the things that gets, and I always say this, and with this next topic I'm doing is becoming more and more obvious, but I don't think men's traditions in Igbo culture are in trouble. It's actually the women's traditions, right? So right now, everybody's requesting I do akaraka, right? Palm reading. Palm reading is done by women. I've turned into like an NSA agent trying to find a woman who does palm reading. This is intense. It's been a lot of work this past week, that kind of thing, you know? Um, but one of the women's traditions was not just talking to ancestors, but talking to your unborn children, right? It's not just talking to ancestors, but talking to your unborn children, especially if you're interested in having children. Some people, maybe you're not, right? Which is probably more common in the West and America than over there. But talking to that tradition is just not, it's not there, right? It's not there anymore because whatever. And so that dialogue, if you're going to make that decision, that dialogue wouldn't end there and say, hey, this is what I want to do, yada, 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 because it's a big part of that event, that decision is extremely traumatizing. And first and foremost, I'm not the messenger for this, by the way. But I don't know anybody else who could talk about it like this. But it's extremely traumatizing for the person who makes that decision. And I think part of just like the going into battle and all that stuff, I think part of that decision is having that conversation. Hey, this is what happened, da 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 da, and moving on and that type of thing. So the view, it's hard to say what the view is, but in general, you don't even like, if a goat is pregnant, you can't kill it. You can't eat a pregnant goat. There are some fruit that like show pregnancy, or like some trees that'll be like, I don't know how to explain it, but they'll have like the little one growing inside of it. You can't even eat it. You can't kill it. If you kill a chicken and then you find there's eggs in there, you can't eat it. In fact, you have to atone, that type of thing. You have to cleanse, that kind of thing. So yeah, abortion is not something that that it would have been a problem for our ancestors. And if somebody has made that decision, there are ways to say, okay, hey, this is what I had to do, da, 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 and you move on. Because it's not that you do something and you're stuck forever. Oh, you did a bad thing, whatever. No, this is science. So I hope that answered that question. Again, if anybody's going to emote, you guys, everybody's going to come here and be emotional. I'm not the person. So, and I'm the most, what's the word for it? As far as emotions go, I'm the most accommodating Nigerian of all time. So if you go to somebody else with that nonsense, God, they'll insult you. So yeah, it's not a religion thing. Okay, I'll get to that in just a second. Somewhere like Peter Griffin from Family Guy would have had trouble knowing his ancestors. Can only remember his like ancestors from in Cutaways. Our wife, LOL. Yes, our wife. Okay, Brandy, I'm sure sounds like you're married to somebody who is of that tradition with the our wife quote. Said, love it. Wow. Might be a silly question, but if your child dies before they're considered an ancestor, hold on. If your child dies before you, are they considered an ancestor since you literally created them? You wouldn't call them Ndi Oniche, right? Ndiche is the word for the ancestors. And Ndiche doesn't even mean ancestor, it means elder. So the older people in your family are also your Ndiche. So you wouldn't call them an ancestor, but you wouldn't end the relationship you have with that person after death. And that's why the ancestor thing is unique in the African tradition, because people think it's like, the ancestors are spoken to because like they have superpowers and they're super that kind of no. The ancestors are a part of your life because your family is a part of your life. And family does not end at death or because of death. So if I am preparing a meal and I'm serving my family, I'm going to cut a little bit aside for my ancestors because they are also a part of my family, right? The term ndiche might make ancestors seem like a separate thing, but ndiche just means elders. So a group of elders are ndiche, and therefore you respect your ancestors the way you would respect an elder. It's really just a continuation of family thing. So if you lose somebody, like if a father or a mother has a child and that person passes before them, you would still connect with them and keep that affection within you and actualize it and practice it and that kind of thing as a part of your life the way you were doing it when they had passed. Because the term wouldn't be ancestor, but people are ancestors because it's a continuation of families. Just like and here in America, right? There's the whole, the pouring of, liquor for maybe friends that have passed away and so on and so forth. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I'm acknowledging you. Like our bond didn't end at death. I'm drinking this. Here's your share. I'm sharing with you the way I would have shared it with you if you were side by side with me, and that's what it is. So yeah, the individual, you wouldn't call them an ancestor. You wouldn't say Nietzsche because they're not an elder, unless like you both are old elders. And then, maybe they're in their 60s or 70s, and you can say, okay, I can call this person on Nietzsche. But if they passed before you, you would still connect with them the way you connect with your ancestors and that kind of thing. And by the way, there's no silly questions. There's no bad questions. Just throw them at me. I appreciate everything you guys are asking me. Like I said, I can't tell you what my chi brought me into the world to do and be, but it's connected. This is connected to it, and every question I get, I light up, and I know that's why I know it's aligned with my truth. So I appreciate you guys are doing a really good thing when you're asking me questions. Trust me, there are no bad questions at all. How did Kiwi get a wrench? Are you a mod? Okay, I don't know, man. Well, anyways, congrats on your position. If so, I don't remember doing that. Okay, these were typically enslaved conjure women with Bantu/Igbo lineages. Say, yup, it's definitely the case with young women, girls who have died during childbirth. Yeah, yeah, yep. Awesome, Jada. Thank you for that. Jada's so wise. Where are we at? What of a sibling? Yeah, same thing, same thing. But that being said, let me make something very, very, very clear. A sibling passes, the same thing I just said. It's the family doesn't end at death. Family doesn't end at. It's all the same. But let me say this: if they pass, the way Igbo people see it, if they pass away before they marry and have children, typically the family wouldn't venerate the person, right? You wouldn't venerate the person because when a spirit comes in the world, it actualizes a predetermined cycle, right? And when the spirit passes and you call that spirit's name, you are re-inviting that cycle. So it's not that they don't love the person or they don't care about the person, so on and so forth. But if a person's life was something you don't want repeated, such as they died very young, or they came and they're just like, I don't want to say a bad person because like bad and like, I'm sorry, but this cultural context is you inconvenienced me, but like they're just committing abominations, right? You wouldn't call that person's name. And it's in Odinani, that kind of thing, yeah, it's clear, but we still do it till this day, right? There's a reason why not saying somebody who passes away is equally or is of moral evil to Hitler, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just that we don't want to bring that cycle back. We don't want to bring the events of that person back, so we don't say this person's name in Germany, or we don't venerate this person in Germany. We don't do X, Y, Z. So I'm hearing, anyways, in Germany. We don't keep it going, the Hitler thing or whatever, right? So if somebody in your family, let's say they passed very young, in having that dialogue or continuously inviting that person back in your life is re-inviting that cycle. There are a lot of cultures in the world where you see this play out big time, right? You see this play out big time. And I think that a lot of what, like, for example, I'll use Japan as an example, right? So, individuals, there was a term for committed suicide that my patrons taught me that made more sense than the term committed whatever. But let's say just seppuku for this one. So, because I think the terminology on that is kind of shifting culturally, right? So, let's say somebody commits seppuku. Well, it's an honored thing. It's an honored thing. So you would honor that person, honor that person, honor that person. And today they have, it's that spirit is still recycling and moving through their culture. So it's a common thing in that culture for individuals to pass away based on that decision and kind of thing, right? It's common. It's very common. In the US, with the gun culture and the shooting and that kind of thing, think about the spirits we venerate. Think about the spirits we call over and over and things we celebrate. In America, we are taught history as a sequence of wars. So think about that, right? So you're inviting this again, and all of a sudden somebody, that spirit really gets active and goes and pow, shoots somebody. There's a video I was watching, it's in the Benin Republic, and in Benin Republic, I think it's like 99% of the people or 90% of people still adhere to voodoo or voodoo, and that is their word for Odinani. And one of the things it shows in the video, which you also see in Igbo culture and you see in Yoruba and Efik and all the Cameroon, that type of thing, is you'll play the music of a spirit. You'll play the music of a certain spirit. The spirit that this time was basically Amadioha, right? But you'll play the music of a spirit, and then all of a sudden somebody in that room will suddenly become possessed by that spirit. And they'll begin moving around and speaking as in that spirit's voice and doing that spirit dance. And then once you see, he's landed. Then you begin to play the music to guide it a certain way to make it happy and that kind of thing. You're spending time with that spirit and letting it go, right? Well, it's no different than what happens here, right? I go into the theater and I'm seeing John Wick, 100 people. And then, I'm putting on the thing, I've been listening to 50 Cent. I've been feeling like an aggressive 14-year-old. So I've been listening to 50 Cent a lot, listening to him. He's talking about, you're playing this spirit's music over and over and over. And all of a sudden the crowd of people, wow, it wakes up and goes and shoots the Indians. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh man, we got a problem here. It's like, I know you're calling this spirit over and over and over. Same reason why they don't want you to know where Osama bin Laden was buried, right? They killed him. They try to make it as, the Obama come out, he's dead, and it walks away. They try to make it as unceremonious as possible. They don't let you know where he's at, all those different things, because they don't want to keep re-inviting that particular spirit. So in the family, right? In the family, if the events of somebody's life, not that they are evil or they're bad, but if the events of somebody's life is not something the family decides, not you as an individual, but the family decides we don't want to keep flowing, that kind of thing, then the decision is usually made to just keep that name out of the ether. This is very, very rare, almost never happens, but it does happen. And on top of it being very rare, it is a family decision, and that decision is made at the funeral. If nobody goes to the person's funeral, that's what that means, right? If you have a wake keeping for that person, if you have the second funeral in Africa, the funeral, marriage, all these things are unbelievably African concepts. They come, I know this from the core of myself, they are very African, right? So the funeral, just about every culture, not every culture, has two funerals, right? They'll have the burial one, and they'll have the wake keeping, right? Where the wake keeping it awake, where they go and they, whatever that looks like. I've never gone to like a Western wake keeping. But in Africa, it's a party. Everybody's, done it, where everybody's having a good time. They're dancing, they're eating rice. When Nigerians want to insult you, they'll say that. They'll tell along lines like that. They'll go to your funeral and eat rice. Don't worry, that kind of thing. So everybody's having a good time, because what you're actually doing is you're re-inviting that person to come back. You're saying it's okay to come back, it's okay. But if the family makes a decision not to do that particular thing, we actually had that happen recently 2 times in my community, 2 times, right? In like the past 5 years. When the family makes the decision not to do that, then, that's where the decision is made. It's not just like, oh, he died, I didn't like him, so if the family invited them, that they're here. It's not your choice to be made. I hope all this has made sense, because I've just been flying. Where are we at? Pour a 40 ounce On someone's grave. This is for my homies. Yeah, that's Odinani. That's Africa. That's where that came from. Even like you'll see this with a lot of elders. They'll be in the morning, they'll drink something, they'll pour a little bit, and they'll drink some more. It's just a very African thing, and it doesn't go away. Is the chi the same as the uri? I don't know the Yoruba tradition too well, but enough people have told me that they're the same thing for me to go ahead and say yes, they're the same thing. Now, how the cultures relate to that thing will differ, right? So in its meaning, they're probably, I'm going to 99% sure they're the same thing, but then how they relate to it will differ. But then if you go deeper, you'll come to find that they don't actually differ at all. So, but that's a whole different thing. I'm trying to keep this simple because what should an ancestor altar look like? Perfect question for the topic. So today's topic is, and we got into different points, which is fine. This is just us talking. Today's topic is Odinani or African spirituality, whatever. I can't remember how I named it, but I remember I had Young Thug on the thing. If it's complicated. That's what we're talking about. If it's complicated, it's extremely simple. It's extremely simple. And this question is allowing me to show you how simple it is. Okay. So when you're making an altar, the way you make an altar is between you and your chi. Your chi is going to tell you how to make an altar, right? Here's my example. So I was like, I want to make an altar. So I started Googling all the different altars, and I'm seeing like the table and all these different things and whatever. So I did it, and it was inside and all that stuff. And it just felt like I was talking to a pile of stuff, right? And I'm like, okay, I guess this is what you're supposed to do. So it just felt like I was talking to a pile of stuff. And it was kind of awkward, and that kind of thing. And then I was like, well, what if I move this outside? Because I have a garden outside anyway. I can just turn my garden into an altar and that kind of thing. And then, wow, the whole thing came alive. Now, I didn't read that anywhere. I didn't look it up, and nobody told me that kind of thing. You understand? But I did one, and it didn't resonate. It didn't resonate. My chi didn't say, yeah, that's the one. Then I went outside. My chi said, there it is. Right? So that's Udinani, is that connection with your chi. Okay, how are we going to set up an altar? How are we going to set up an altar? Let me do this. That doesn't feel right. Okay, I'm going to trust. There's a reason I feel that it doesn't feel right. And that reason is truth. That is the only truth that matters, honestly. Right? That is my capital T truth, is the truth that I feel. You understand? Okay, let me try this. Well, all of a sudden it comes alive. And what you come to find is that the things your chi revealed to you, you have always known. You're not going to learn anything new from your chi. You're accepting your chi is just going to make it easier for you to admit some of those things and embrace some of those things and appreciate and respect some of those things. But your chi is not going to tell you anything new, right? Your chi is not going to tell you anything new, that kind of thing. That's what I've come to find out. Yeah, so let me see what's going on in the chats. I'm going to try to read it from here. I got a second screen here. Hey, Kayla. I thought it was Kayla. Hey, Kayla, what's up? How you doing? I'm so glad you're in here. That's awesome. Do you find significant amounts of Yoruba being Dibia / practicing Odinani? No, there would be no reason for them to. No, you don't find significant amount of Yorubas doing that. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Okay, this is a perfect example of how it's the same thing, right? So Odinani then, right? So again, now I said in the beginning of this, the whole thing is simple. Connect with your chi, communicate with your chi, reopen, if you need to reopen it, fine. Reopen that line of communication with your chi. Your chi is your truth. Your chi is the thing that brought you into the world. Your chi is the reason you're in this world. Your chi is the thing that knows where you're going and that kind of thing. Reconnect with that thing. Reconnect with your chi. And then learn the names of your ancestors. And that's it. Right? That's it. So what then you end up seeing is if one group of people are committed to doing that, and another group of people are committed to doing that, the outcome is going to look different for everybody. So my Odinani is going to be a little different from my dad's, and his dad's going to be a little different from his, and that kind of thing, right? So they're going to be a little bit different. But then if we go over to another culture, right, and they're doing the exact same thing, theirs is going to look different from ours. So oftentimes we think that like the ethnic lines in Africa are like different religions or like different denominations of the same kind of thing, but that's not really what it is, right? So I'll use Oshun for an example. Oshun, very popular, Beyonce, that kind of thing. That kind of thing, right? But Oshun is a river in Yoruba land. It's a specific river in Yoruba land, right? It's a very specific river. And if I live near that river, and that river has nourished, bathed, and kept my entire ancestral lineage alive for thousands and thousands of years, I would be out of my mind not showing that river respect, right? Not showing that river appreciation, not acknowledging that river as a part of the community, the wider community, right? Community doesn't end at the death, like friendship, family doesn't end at death. Appreciation and relationships don't end at species. They don't end at species, right? So if you give me a cup of water, I'm going to say thank you. And if a river gives me water, I'm also going to tell that river thank you, right? That kind of thing. So then it ends up saying, okay, they're talking about Oshun, but the Igbo one is da 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 da. No, that's their river over there. That's the name of their river over there. Over here, there's a river called Njaba, right? The main Irish in my community is Njaba Nkwo, because Njaba is the river of our community, and it's kept us alive for hundreds of years. It was in the land before we came to. In fact, it owns the land. It's the owner of the land. We are its tenants. We're renting. So we show it the appreciation she deserves, right? Because she is the one keeping us alive, right? So it becomes Njaba over here. It becomes Imo over there. It becomes Idemili over here. She becomes Oshimiri, those who are by the ocean. It becomes Oshimiri over there, Oshun over here, so on and so forth, right? So it's the same type of thinking, but in different geographies, it all of a sudden starts looking different because we're now talking about different things, right? That kind of thing. So the question that kind of sparked this one was, if there's a lot of Yoruba people that are DBS, no, there would be Babalawos, they would do it in their own way, but they're all doing the same thing, that kind of thing. So, and then like here in America, right? So I live next to a big ass lake. Me and my son just went to that lake. And that's where I'm going to be doing my water work. You understand? That's just where it's going to be, because that's the water that I live next to, and it's keeping this place alive, and I'm a part of the life that it's giving, and it needs its appreciation, right? When I say eke, uri, afo, and nkwo, when you're doing iwaji, I'm showing appreciation to light and fire, because she keeps us alive. I'm showing appreciation to water, which is uri, she keeps us alive. Sorry, I'm showing appreciation to earth, which is afo, she keeps us alive, and then nkwo, air. Of course, you need air to live, that kind of thing. When you say those, that's what you're doing, right? So anything it takes, the relationship doesn't end at species. You understand? I have a video called Sacred Animals, right? Sacred Animals, like a 2-part video. And one of the main points of that video that I wanted to make, or that I did make, was that a lot of the animals that are considered sacred, it isn't necessarily because the animal has like magic powers or anything like that, but that in the community's history, this animal played a role in keeping people alive, right? So there was the, I want to say Newi. No, not Newi, sorry. So somewhere in Alhambra, there was a community that you can't kill monkeys in that community, this specific kind of monkey, because there was a time that during the time of slavery, there was this larger community that was coming to take over their ancestors when they were just trying to settle this community. And every time those people would try to sneak, the monkeys would start woo, 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 making their noise, and they'd run on top of the trees. And then everybody knew to run because the monkeys were telling them to run. So for doing that, they have a perpetual gratitude to those monkeys, because we wouldn't be alive without you. The way we celebrate, I'm trying to think of somebody we celebrate that isn't a psycho. Martin Luther King, right? The way we celebrate Martin Luther King, okay, we've gotten this far as civil rights due to the sacrifice you made and the dedication you had to the thing you were doing, right? So we give you this day, Martin Luther King Day, that kind of thing, America's a crazy society. We also got different holidays for a lot of different crazy people. I don't like the term crazy, but different wild people. So That's what that is. But that's all it is. It's all it is. So I don't even know how I got on that rant, but let me see if there's more questions. I'm not gonna touch that. Uh, Are Alpha and Ifa the same thing? Yeah, but Alpha uses 16 nodes. Like Alpha has more ropes. If that like it says there's it says more, but Alpha Ifa they're all the same things. It's same thing, same thing. Even the things that the nodes say, like Odi, Ose, Obi, I'm thinking of some other ones. Aka, it's the same thing. And then in Yoruba, it becomes like Eken or something like that. And instead of Udi, it's like Udu and that kind of thing. It's all the same. It's the exact same thing, right? It's the exact same thing. Uri literally means the head in Yoruba. It's specific to one's character, destiny, values, personality. But it is based inside the head, unlike the chi, which is like a cosmic entity. So Ascari, that was a super good point. That is true. There's a relationship between the Ori and the head. But this is why I said if you dig deep, you'll now say, oh, okay, they are saying the same thing, right? So oftentimes, right, when a person wants to make a vow to become the living embodiment of their chi, they become an inze or an ozo. And back in the day, in that process, you would get scarifications on your forehead, right? On your forehead, because you're revealing your chi. And oftentimes the chi in masks is symbolized on the forehead. They put it on the head, right? So while the chi is a cosmic thing, um, I know why Yoruba people associate it with the forehead, if that makes sense, right? So there's always like the first layer is they look different. The second layer, they're doing the same thing. The third layer is, okay, they are different, but this is why the difference is actually the same thing, right? That's kind of how a lot of those comparison things go. But yeah, the ori is strongly associated with the forehead. But for example, now the sun is like the embodiment of the chi, right? So if we want to understand the chi, we understand the sun or anyanwu, anyanwu. And I said that anyanwu manifests on the human forehead. That's her space on your body. She's your forehead. Anything pertaining to your forehead is really anyanwu, like the rising sun, the sun, that kind of thing. So I know why they say it's in the forehead, but just due to maybe culture and history, things are emphasized over here that are not emphasized over there. I don't know if like the Ifa that I'm seeing in the modern day is the same as like the old one, and of course all these things change. But I think there's more of an emphasis on what the Igbo people would call the Abara, in which is the Orisha in the Yoruba tradition. There's a more of an emphasis on them in the Yoruba tradition. They're a little bit more important. In the Igbo tradition, they're not as important. The Abara are not as important, right? The chi or the ori then becomes the most important part. That thing becomes the most important part, right? But a lot that's probably cultural because Igbo people are very egalitarian, right? So like everybody is equals until you prove you're not equals. So you prove you're not equals through achievement, right? So somebody achieves something great. There's an ilu that says that a child who washes his hands, and I'm saying his, it's just they, but a child who washes their hands can eat with the elders, right? So this person's a child, but now they're eating with elders because they've shown themselves to be equal to the elders, that kind of thing. So that's very much an Igbo cultural mentality that we're all equal, and like if somebody's great, I can become great too. It's not a whatever. So in that situation, things are more segmented. So everybody in their chi, that becomes more important. The individuality becomes more important, right? Yoruba society is more of a monarchy, right? So like something like the town hierarchy now becomes more important than the individual hierarchy. So it's just culture. All that is culture. Okay, so do you learn the names of your ancestors on both your mom and your dad's side? Really good question. So if you're a man, you're going to focus on your dad's side, though it is good to know your mom's side too, but most of the things you're going to do is going to be your dad's side. If you are the first daughter in the family, you are the person who venerates your paternal your paternal mother line, right? Your paternal female line. You're the person that venerates that. If you're the first daughter in the family, if you're the first son of the family, you're the person that venerates the paternal father line, right? Now I have my theory about the second daughter because the second daughter is the Ulu, and traditionally the Ulu is supposed to have the same name as her mom's mom, right? And I get the sense that she would be the person that does that on that side, so on and so forth. So there's different roles for different people in the family. But in the Igbo culture, you focus on your paternal line when you're doing things. But if you include your mother's line, it's not like the Odinani police are gonna come arrest you. You know, it's if your chi says include your maternal line, then that's the answer. Yeah, that kind of thing. Oftentimes when you go to like a DBA and things like that, they'll ask you both too. They'll ask you both, and a lot of DBA work goes to the maternal line. It goes to the maternal line, but DBA work's like a thing within Odinani. It's not like the whole thing, right? It's not like the whole thing. So funny, there's tales of Oshun taking her sweetness away from the village after they neglected the spirit, if I'm not mistaken. Probably, yeah, I can understand that. Probably. What if some of your ancestors were proven to be evil on Earth? Must we acknowledge them? Adrian, what is? Can you give me a definitive evil? Right. If your family collectively said, "Yeah, we're good on that one," then leave them out. If your family didn't do that and you're doing it, then that's not right. You know, that's a decision the family makes together to say this. Yeah, we're just gonna do one funeral for this one's gonna be very quiet. We're gonna go away. Like at home when children, like very very young children, pass, you have a small funeral for them that's primarily attended by children and their mother, right? Sometimes their father, but primarily other children and their mother will attend that funeral. And it's like, you know, to send that child off, but it's not a formal funeral because you don't want to invite that particular situation, not person, but situation back again, that kind of thing. So whatever the question was, I'm sure I answered it. So yeah. Is there a conflict of benevolent magic in Odinani? Like, is there a concept of benevolent magic, like people using nsi, using Odinani to do messed up things? Hell yeah, yeah. Yeah, big time. Yeah, yeah. Of course, it's a science, right? So, what did Jeru the Damager said? Something about like the chip that powers my PlayStation powers nuclear bombs, something like that. Like the same chip that I use for my PlayStation is the same one they use to make nuclear bombs. So it's not that the chip has a moral signature, right? It doesn't have a moral signature, but its morality or what it ends up meaning to people, it depends on what people use it to actualize in the world, that kind of thing. So all the things I'm teaching on the medicine all right, a lot of you guys can use these things, and I've used them and made my situation better, and helped people that needed help and that kind of thing. But you could also use it to crack someone's head. You could a lot of marketing, a lot of US marketing, right? If you pay attention to what I'm talking about in the abstract and go and look at some of these commercials, you're like, oh, that's what that is, right? Oh, okay, I get it. You understand, watch my video on more and then think of how they advertise, especially like a celebrity endorsement advertising, right? Celebrity endorsement advertising. Celebrities are like homing beacons for specific spirits. And you'll notice, especially with female celebrities, where they won't let more than one have the same archetype at the same time. Whenever another one starts having come up with the same archetype, they'll knock out the other one, right? Especially with the female ones. Me and my wife joke about it all the time with like white actresses. I'll be like, oh, is this the Nicole Kidman replacement? That kind of thing, and then you'll find out Nicole Kidman was somebody else's replacement, that kind of thing, right? But they're channel specific energies, or they're supposed to. The idea is they're supposed to. And then you see that thing, and then she all of a sudden stands next to a perfume, and then you want the fucking perfume because that's juju. That's that's juju. All that shit is juju. If you don't know, that's what it is. People talk about, you think it's got to be I'm not cuss too much. You think somebody's gonna be waving a chicken around for it to be? No, it's they do it here too. They do it here too. Be aware. Be aware. But you can use that exact same thing to help somebody, right? So, for example, When I want to crack someone's head, I'll call. I have a specific ancestor who's a warlord, right? And when I'm going into competition or battle, that's the name I'm going to. I'm going to lean in on that particular energy, and I'm going to get up and go. That chip is what is used to make Air Jordan, sell you Michael Jordan shoes. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So yeah, you can. It's a science. It's a science. These are the facts, and then you say, oh, if these are the facts, then this is what I'm going to do with these facts. And then if you use it for something messed up, then that's the whatever. If you use it for some good, whatever. But all of this is subjective, that kind of thing. But yeah, people definitely do some messed up things with Odinani, big time. I like the way you chill. Thanks, buddy. Oka and Anambra, Adigi. Yes, Oka, yes, one name. Hey, where's my OG? Oh, I can't find my OG. Yeah, I want to give you OG. Yes, it's Oka. Oka doesn't kill monkeys. Oka, who said that? Martin said Oka in the translating way says that Oka people don't kill monkeys because in the forming of the Oka community, it was the monkeys that saved the people from danger. It was the monkeys. Whenever somebody was trying to sneak up on them, the monkeys would rise up into the trees and start making noise. And then for that reason, Aka people don't kill them, right? I'm not gonna kill you because your ancestors saved my ancestors, and that's the bond we have with each other. So I'm gonna keep you alive. I appreciate you for doing that. And that's what it is. So in one of my videos, I said that our people aren't superstitious. Africans are not superstitious people. And it sounds funny, right? Because you're here talking about spirits and this and this and this and that. But again, take all these terms and put it in the verbiage that makes sense to you. You'll now see, oh, okay, that's what that is. It's just a different way of seeing things. And it might look a certain way because I do it this way, but it's okay, somebody goes to the river and gives the river food. Okay, obviously they believe the river can eat. No, that's not what it is. As I'm showing you gratitude because you did something good to me, right? That the appreciation doesn't end at species or life or whatever, that kind of thing. It's I'm gonna give you what you deserve, I'm showing you the respect, that kind of thing. And if one of your children, the crocodile, comes and eats the food, then that means you've received it. Whenever there's a lot of Nechuku altars throughout Igbo land, and typically you'll know that Nechuku took your offering if a crocodile comes and eats it. If a crocodile comes and eats the food. In Java, in our own place, is the python. If you go to Njaba, it's just like there's this part in Njaba where it's like just hundreds, if not thousands of pythons just everywhere. Pythons everywhere. In my community, we don't kill pythons. You don't kill pythons. If a python comes into your house, it's like a person came to your house. You show him or her that respect. Okay, welcome. How have you been? Let me offer you something to eat. Let me offer you something to drink. That kind of thing. If you want the python to leave, you either wait till the python leaves by themselves, or you offer the python a branch. And if the python wants to leave, it'll wrap itself on the branch, and then you'll take it back to Njaba or into the forest, and you'll give the python back, right? Now, a lot of people have come like, oh, they worship pythons, right? No, nobody's gonna tell you that a python created the world and we must pray to the pythons, and that's not what's going on. It's not a worship thing. It's that the python is the animal form of that Njaba river that I was talking about, right? So just like we as human beings have different organs, right? Another thing, I made this video to say that this shit's not complicated, but I don't go into all these complicated concepts. But if you're here for the main point of the video, Odinani is not complicated. It is about knowing your chi, knowing your ancestors. If you do those two, you're fine. Everything else is extra. Everything else is extra, right? So this part I'm talking about here is in the knowing the ancestors portion, right? So the African view is that individuals are a decentralized intelligence. Here I go with some bullshit, right? We're a decentralized intelligence. So it's not like there's one intelligence controlling the whole thing. There's many different things at play, right? On a biological level, my heart is one intelligence. I can't tell my heart. I can't just be like this and be like, all right, stop beating. All right, beat. It's going to do its own thing, right? And it's going to respond to stimuli, and it's going to give stimuli, so on and so forth. So I can see something, and it makes my heart start racing. I didn't tell my heart to start racing. It's just it got stimulated and it started racing. And that racing is going to trigger different things. So that's one intelligence, right? My brain is another intelligence. My body is another intelligence. Then my spirit, all these different things, my chi, these are all the decentralized intelligence. Same thing with the river, right? Same thing with the river. A river is a decentralized intelligence, right? So it moves around in animal form by way of the python, right? It'll move around in human form by way of a group of people known as, well, colloquially, I can't say that word, casually known as Osu, right? Or Duru, or Dara, all these different things. So it'll move in a human form, but these are all part of the same complex, just like my heart and all these things, same complex as me. So I treat the river with the respect, the python with the respect that the river deserves, because it's an extension. When that python comes to me, it's the river reaching out saying, hey, what's going on over here? How are you guys doing? And in a very, very, I mean, I can take you guys home if you want. The Injaba, that python, Eka Injaba, it doesn't kill people. It doesn't kill animals. Like, if you offer it food, it'll bypass like 100 chickens and eat the food you offered it and then leave. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making this up. This is what happens every day, if not every week at home, right? It doesn't kill people. It doesn't steal. It doesn't take from like your barn or anything like that. In fact, if you put like a baby next to it, it won't, and keep them there, nothing's going to happen. This is just what we know. It will fight you if you try to fight it, though, right? It will fight. And then the people themselves will try, like, hey, why are you trying to fight that python, pal? Because again, it's not just like a member of the community, it's like a respected member, because it's an extension of the river, right? So yeah, that's that. But yeah, not not a superstitious people. All of these things, anything I'm saying, either you can prove it scientifically, or eventually they'll get to it, right? Eventually, oh, it turns out that they were just saying this one about how they think forests are a decentralized intelligence, that like a forest can be a living thing, and that mushrooms form a neural network. And so the roots of mushrooms inform a forest, like it'll send like information from one end of the forest to another, like a nervous system. And it's like, yeah, we could have told you that, but when we were saying, it was like, oh, this is their forest god. Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, third eye, awesome, wow. We have spirits like that in America. I've heard stories where some animals and spirits keep our, yes, alive during slavery. Absolutely, yes, 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 yes. Scotty, yeah, no, big time. A lot of them, like this particular one, we were hiding from XYZ, and this one came and attacked them or misled them, or kind of, and then all of a sudden, then show that thing respect. There's a reason why, like European culture, the dogs, the dogs play that role for them, for a lot of them. A dog and a human being are not really that different in the culture that I'm in right now, which is the American culture, probably in Europe and that kind of thing too. And it goes back to like Indo-Europeans and their relationship with the dog, and how the dog helped them survive and hunt and do all these things. And so now it's man's best friend, right? And if you kill a dog, they'll look at you crazy. There was a video of like somebody sharing it, and they're trying to be racist. It was like a Senegalese maybe guy in Italy. He was like cooking a cat. And this Italian woman was like freaking out and yelling at him that we don't eat cats here. Da, da, da. It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. So in this culture, for some reason, the cat is no longer is no longer something that you kill. But his culture, yeah, it's another animal, that kind of thing. Udochi, beautiful name. Hey, Udochi, what's up? Can you speak on Ndinshi, little people, pygmies in Igbo land? I'll eventually get to that. There's too much to be said right now about Ndinshi or Ndinsi. But yeah, I'll eventually get to that. If you can comment it, like ask as a comment in one of the videos, I can then put it up for vote on the Patreon, or you can just join the Patreon and say, hey, Derek, you should do this, and then I'll do it. So when she dies, do I acknowledge her? Okay, my bad. So my dad is from Louisiana, strong Cajun Creole ancestry. There's proof that an aunt of mine who passed for white may have done something to all 5 of her husbands from okay, so in where I'm from, the land doesn't, if you kill, that's it. If you I'm assuming, right? I'm just making assumptions, in case they use this live stream in the court case, or court cases, if you kill, it's an abomination. So if you have somebody that has killed, you wouldn't have two funerals for them unless they've done some type of ceremony to atone for it. If they have atoned for it, it's fine. So I'm assuming she didn't do no ceremony to atone for nothing. So yeah, y'all may want to chill on that unless that's the type of energy you want in your family. Because again, I have an ancestor who was a warlord, and if you ask people outside of my family, he committed many atrocities, right? He was doing a lot, but we like him. He didn't do it to us, and he's part of us, and it's whatever. We have this thing in my family where my uncles were breaking it down to me. He said that if he goes outside, he sees his brothers fighting somebody, he's gonna just attack that other person, and then he'll afterwards will ask the uncle, okay, what did you do? And then we'll beat him up if he was the cause or that kind of thing. So yeah, that's just our own mentality. So if that's the kind of energy y'all want floating in the family, yeah, sure, that's fine. Many people venerate ancestors who do similar things. It's a family decision, right? It's not just, oh, like she killed, it's bad. Okay, what was the context? Like where I'm from, the specific land I'm from doesn't, it frowns upon killing. And every death has to be atoned for. And can these same practices apply to African Americans who trace their, absolutely. Yeah. US loves their rituals. Oh god, oh man, shit. Oh man, yeah, you want to see some money daddy, go to Washington DC, man. God damn. Yeah, you want to see some shrines. Yeah, America's very but the people who put a lot of the structures of this country together were aware of a lot of the things I'm saying, and they structured this society to maximize certain types of energies, and of course it is working. It's spiritually engineered in a specific way. This is not necessarily a bad thing. If you have sense, you would deliberately spiritually engineer situations to work for you. So people for centuries have condemned what they don't understand. All right, Brandy, I wish I could find my OG. So, there it is. One day, take OG. Wonderful. I'm going to read some comments. I think I'm going to hop out, guys. People, that's okay. People love to throw around the word worship. Yeah. It's like, I think it's like, just from like, if your thinking is like, if the scaffolding of your brain is Christian, it's hard to see things in a lot of things I'm going to say won't make sense, right? So a lot of it, even if you say I'm not Christian anymore, or I'm not whatever, there's a lot of unlearning that has to be done, because let's call it religion, right? What religion does is it builds the scaffolding of your thinking. And you can remodel it all you want, but the scaffolding might still be the same. So here's one that we talk about this in our group study. We've talked about this probably more than once, right? So a lot of people, for example, there's a link between the morality of people who are not Christian, but they grew up Christian, and Christianity. And it's not just that like 10 commandments, all that stuff. There's this very specific type of morality in the Abrahamic religions where the victim is more correct than the victimizer, right? The victim is more correct or is more just than the victimizer. And it's very specific to the Abrahamic scaffolding, right? It's very specific to those people, you understand? But those people came to, influence everybody in the world. So now it becomes common for everybody else. But once upon a time, right? If I did something bad to you, it's because God gave me the power to, and that's okay. So, which again sounds messed up. So people say that they're not Christian, but then like the morality of the victim being correct is a Christian thing. Right? The weaker person is more correct morally, is a Christian thing. That scaffolding stays even after you say I'm not Christian anymore. You don't do the thing, you don't go to church, you don't necessarily believe in the beliefs of it, but the structure is the same. So then another thing that comes with Christianity is that everything is like either religion or not religion. So this idea that they're all religion, not religion is all the same thing, which is an African way of thinking, is hard to grasp. So that when somebody says the spirits of my ancestors, like, okay, is he worshiping it or what? You know, it's like, no, it's I'm talking to it the way I talk to my mom and my wife and that kind of thing. It's not, what do you mean worship? You know, worship is not something you see in a lot of African spirituality. You know, people will even think, oh, well, they're going to the river and they're, you know, they're praising and they're calling all these names and they're doing whatever. Again, you've been giving me water for 2,000 years. Yeah, I'm going to dedicate a day to just celebrating you, right? Because I got friends who I'll go to their birthday party too, right? I'm not worshiping that person, you know? So one of the things that people do a lot too, like if they're like upbringing as Christians, that when they're trying to like explain, like a lot of my notes unfortunately have this issue where like everything is a god, and everything is worshiping, right? So Ikenga is a god of blah blah blah, Amadiaha is a god of blah blah blah, this Igwe is a god of blah. I'll use Igwe for example. Igwe is the god of the sky. How do you say sky in Igbo? Igwe. Oh, maybe Igwe is literally the sky. It's not the god of the sky. It's just sky, period. But we respect the sky, right? Maybe Anna is not the god of the earth. Maybe it's the earth. Because there's no other word for earth than Anna, right? And we respect her, right? When I say Njaba, it's not because she's the god of this river. The river is named Njaba, and I'm paying it that respect and that acknowledgement. It's a part of my family and self and community. Right? It's not like it's not a god, you know, that kind of thing. So it's just a Christian. And it's like in their own, like Abraham's not a god of something, right? The devil's not a god of something, right? He's just the devil, right? He's not the trickster god is the one they like to say. Shit's so stupid. Even Anansi is like to my knowledge, in like a lot of, I think Akan, like Ghana folklore, Anansi is like a trickster, but then like Anansi is the god of tricksters, you know, like that's that worship mentality, you know. You always got to be crawling around praising something. I hope my questions aren't coming silly, but no, there's no silly questions. Every question you ask me is a blessing. Thank you very much. A reddish python visited me at home one day. Okay, when I was a child, scared the hell out of me. Got you. And Mecca told a story. Okay, they love to throw the word worship around because they have no deep understanding of themselves. And cannot fathom that they have power. They can only look outwards. The Abraham religion. Now, wow, yes. The Abraham religions tell you that the things outside of yourself are a greater power than you, right? The things outside of yourself are great. And that's one of the reasons I stopped having a recommended Devia. Because people think this is like a Devia advertisement service or something, or that like, oh, if I talk to him, he's got way more than I have. He's better than me. You know, that kind of, no. It's the knowledge is gonna, the further in you go, the better. It's not the further out. Yeah, you can go out and pick up little things here and there, but the thing inside is gonna register whether you say this is true and this is not true. This is for you, this is not for you. Right? So just go ahead and ask that thing. You don't need the middleman. That kind of thing. You know? It's, again, the scaffolding is already that the things beyond me, the things that are not me, are greater than me and have more to offer me, and so on and so forth, right? And like, you know, even with like the Abara and things like that, like this is gonna sound crazy, but there's a lot of stories to a Christian in Igbo folklore about like how stupid Chukwu is. There's this like line of stories, like the stupid Chukwu stories, right? Where Chukwu's kind of like this like dumb ogre and that kind of thing, you know? And again, for someone who's Christian, it's hard to like fathom, because it's like, oh, I thought we were here to do this with you. No, if you don't like them, then it's whatever, you know? You disagree with them, cool, you know, that kind of thing. Just know what you're doing when you're doing the disagreement. So that the things like that are hard to fathom for a lot of people, because the idea is that, oh, it's just above me, it's better than me. That's the power. I'm not the power. I don't have it. I'm not the source of what is for me, or the things that are for me don't come from me. It has to come from something. Those things have to validate me. That's why everybody wants to go get to get the initiation. Now I'm validated. Now I'm in the thing, that kind of thing. So there's this folklore in Igbo land that if you want to see spirits at night, you wash a dog's face. Hey, Namdi, can you close the door for me, buddy? Thank you, man. Awesome. So there's this folklore in Igbo land that if you want to see spirits at night, you wash a dog's face and use water to wash your face. A story our mothers told us as kids. I don't know how it works. That's hilarious. I've never heard that. I can see the logic of it though, because the dog. The dog is like the dog is able to sense things that people can't sense, right? Like a dog can sense somebody's character just by being near them, things like that. So it said that dogs can see spirits. So I can see the idea of taking the dog's water and washing your face, but it's probably just one of those things they tell you. Like I remember my aunt told me that if I brush my teeth at night, what was it? If I brush my teeth at night, like this spirit will come and start pulling my teeth out. But it was just because she didn't want to go brush my teeth, right? I guess I used to be really like compulsive about that when I was younger. She didn't want to do it that night. She just said that, oh, if you do that, this will happen. So who knows where that came from, that kind of thing. The U.S. got so much religion confusing. I can see that. Wait till you find out what the actual religion in the United States is, because it's not what you think. Design of DC with the geometry that is sacred to them, yes. There's this folklore. Okay, I read that one. I think I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. There's a video on IG of a conjure woman saying that the Christian God could actually be the devil, and the devil actually who should be. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know nothing about that, man. That's wild. Yeah, that's wild. There is this I was watching this video about the book of Judas. The book of Judas. It is, according to the story, it's one of the books that was excluded from the Bible when they were canonizing or picking out which ones were going to make the mixtape, which tracks were going to make the mixtape. And they cut this track out, so it's like an unreleased track, And in it, there's a scene where like they're all sitting there and Jesus starts laughing. It's like, ha 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 ha. I'm like, Jesus, why are you laughing? And he's like, you people are fools. And he's like, why are we fools? He's like, because this whole time you've been worshiping, one of them weird, like, not weird, sorry, but one of them, like, the names that's like, oh God, like Bakashima or something like that. This whole time, the thing you've been calling God is Bakashima. And that he knows the real God, and all that other stuff is that God came and tricked you guys into worshiping him, and there's another one, that kind of thing, and he's looking at y'all like, what the fuck are you doing, So, yeah, I don't know what the conjure woman was talking about, but Christianity is actually way more complicated than people think it is. It's more, okay, this video is about complexity, I know I've been all over the place. Christianity is probably just as complicated as a lot of things I'm talking about, right? It's just that to do it is very simple. To do it is very simple. Is a prototype. Prolific J says Christianity is a prototype of Odinani. Prototype would mean it came before it, and so I wouldn't say prototype. But the things happening, Odinani would explain a lot of what you're seeing in Christianity, if that's what you're saying. So Odinani is like, there'll be like certain things that like, especially the Catholic Church, like, there'll be certain things they're doing there. And then like, if you understand Odinani, you're like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing. I get it. Duh, Anansi stories. Anansi stories came over to Jamaica. Yeah, I think Anansi stories, Mbe stories, all those, they came over. I know, I want to say Burr Rabbit in North America. I think he just goes by Anansi in Jamaica. Unless I'm getting Burr Rabbit's character wrong, but I believe Burr Rabbit is like tricky and cunning and things like that. And I think that's where Bugs Bunny came from. That early cartoon, Looney Tune thing is just like hardcore racism, first of all. Like hard racism, But if you look at the history of a lot of the symbols and the things they use. The gloves, why they all got gloves. They say it's because like it's hard to draw fingers, but okay. The use of the gloves, the way the face looks. Clowns. It's the reason American clowns have a certain look. It all goes back to a certain thing, and when you go back to that certain thing, you go, oh, okay, of course, that's what that is. That kind of thing. The rubberiness of cartoons, the rubberiness. Funny stuff. Maybe I'll talk about it in the video sometime. Uh, Ever explain the problem? God of X. I've been wait. Ever since you explained the problem, you go okay. All right, go. Man, because emotions are hella energy. Chuku must be a great empath. Maybe. There are stories from Samoa that says if you put oh, yeah, so same thing in Samoa with the Council of Nicaea type B. Oh man, Council of Nicaea type beat, man. Yeah, I might change the title of this to Council of Nicaea type beat. That's hilarious. Yeah, Book of Judas is a Gnostic gospel. It's deep, very deep, very deep. Indeed, it's more complex because, like you said, the mixtape, exactly, that kind of thing. Wait, this tradition that both you're grasp. Dope. All right, guys. This Patreon talk. Oh, my bad. Maybe I'm going too deep for the chat, man. Maybe I should save it for the Patreon. Yeah. Plus, like, I'm more comfortable saying certain things on the Patreon because, like, one, I know who's there, and two, YouTube's a funny thing, and three, Americans like to talk about North Korea, and it's just the fucking same shit over here anyway. So, but all right, guys, that's it. If you want to support the channel, oh wait, my bad. Hold on. Patreon.com/the medicine shell. I want to see 10 more of you guys in there. I typed it on my regular ass account. I can't even make that thing. Hold on. Why is that? All right, go to patreon.com/the medicine shell. If you want to support the channel, patrons have access to my full library. So all these things we're discussing, it's all in there. I think I shared a few stories directly from the library. At all tiers, you get access to that. There's also the Odinani calendar. We are currently in Onwa Alomchi. This is the women's moon. So earlier I said that in our tradition, women would speak to their unborn children and their ancestors. This would be the moon dedicated to doing that. Women, this is your moon. Not that like this is that you get like the Women's Day type of, oh, it's Women's Day kind of moon, but this is specifically a very feminine moon. And connecting with that energy within yourself, connecting with that element of yourself, connecting with those ancestors. This is their time, and those to come, right? Those unborn, that kind of thing. Had a question about like the A word. I don't know if like I think YouTube like doesn't like certain words, and I kind of hammered on that one, so who knows what's gonna happen. But like abortion, for example, we had a conversation about it. I think maybe it was timely. Whoever asked me that, I appreciate you asking. Sure, whatever I said will be received well by most people, because it came from a good place. But if somebody doesn't want to receive it that way, that's their own problem. But yeah, so access to the full calendar, and then we have the Odinani group chat. So it's like this, only it's on Zoom. So we're all talking, we're all sharing. People are coming with their different perspectives and different, we have a lot of people from a lot of different traditions, be it Ifa, Kemetic, Hoodoo, Wicca, all these different things. People are just coming with their different. We had this one, like a church guy that used to hang out. He used to come in there and kind of give the biblical, but he kind of left. And I get the sense that it was. I was okay with him being there, but the energy was like, "Fuck, is this guy talking?" But shout out to him, man. It's all love. I know I'm laughing, but and those of you who are patrons, you may also know why I'm laughing. That shit was funny. But yeah, all that's available to patrons at patreon.com/the medicine shell. I have also opened an Igbo language school at www.gedu.me. So if you're interested in learning the Igbo language, we have a very like I based the method of learning on the way our ancestors approached learning. So one of the things, like for example, now the idea of learning based on your resonance or based on your chi, right? So that fact that you're not learning from Kedu is helping you see something that's already inside of you, right? And when which might sound kind of like abstract and theoretical, but once you're in the program, you're like, oh, okay, I see how that plays out. And it's been, when you do something and you're in your head and you're planning it and you're like, okay, this is how it's gonna be, and then you do it and it actually starts working, it will always hit you by surprise, right? It'll always, no matter how much faith or confidence you had in that thing, it'll always hit you. And I'm just so surprised. Like I said, a lot of our Igbo 2 students don't know, but they speak Igbo better than me, right? And a lot of them are people who have, this is their first time encountering the language. Maybe they watch one of my videos, or maybe, they heard, love Mantiti or something like that, and they got interested and they want to learn the language, or they found out that their ancestors were Igbo, or maybe their parents are Igbo, but they never taught them. So, it works. Like it works. It really works. And I don't want to just be saying it works, it works, it works. One of these days we'll have one of the students come and talk and hang out and that kind of thing. But yeah, if you want to learn Igbo, go to kedu.me. Our next session is going to be in the fall. In October. Classes will start in October. So by September, or now till September, we're registering, enrolling people, and there's limited seats. So if you're interested in learning this year, try to get in the fall class. That being said, guys, you guys are awesome. This conversation has been great. I appreciate everybody who asked questions. Everybody who is subscribed, I appreciate you guys tremendously. Everybody who has shared the channel, everybody who has donated, everybody who has asked questions, anybody who has sent this to somebody they know. And then some of you guys, like I've seen some of your names, for a good 2+ years now. So just that consistent support, it's really encouraging and it's really phenomenal. When I started this, this is like stuff I used to like. I used to like pin my brothers down and force them to listen to, right? So I didn't think people would willingly want to hear all of this, right? I didn't think this was interesting to people beyond myself. But my chi said, just do it, just do it, just do it. Forget about everything else, just do it. And I did it, and you guys, gave the stamp of approval. So I appreciate that. That being said, this is our history. We need this. Thank you so much. Absolutely, absolutely. That being said, somebody saying, "Dang, Chinwendu, I hope you didn't miss. I hope you didn't miss everything." Oh, oops, I'm late. Okay, I caught you. I need to put the notifications on or something. Chinwendu, if you're subscribed, hit the bell. Allegedly, that's supposed to help, but I'm hearing that's not the case. If you can get on Patreon, that helps too. But subscribe, hit the bell, and then if it's something you want to do, get on the Patreon. The Patreon's the easiest way to stay in the loop. That being said, unu ga-adị, unu ga-eto, nke ọbụla unu ga-eti aka, ọ ga-adị n'ụwa, ọ ga-adị nnọọ n'eke, n'orie, n'afọ, na nkwọ, ise. All right, guys, I had fun. We'll be back next Friday. See you guys. Trying to shut this damn thing off.